This is my first time using this thing, so we'll see how the recording even. I'm going to laugh if it doesn't even work. All right. This problem looks really familiar to the stuff that you had on 1.2, except 1.2's was literally just like domain and range, so building that fence. This one, we've got the intercepts, we've got a minimum or a maximum, right? And we've still got the increasing and decreasing. So now your graph, like last time, we talked about how you could just put that point in the corner and draw a line out. This one's going to have a lot more specific of how the graph has to look. Okay, there's still some wiggle room for individuality, but not like a ton. Okay, first thing, taking a peek at all of these. Okay, x-intercept, y-intercept, and maximum point. Those are all points on your graph. Okay, so we should just be having dots. Domain and range, something that you guys are able to cross out on this one and the next problem, so like 4b. Okay, those weird symbols in front, okay, with the X and the Y. We don't write stuff like that in here, but we use this review between all of the high schools. So I think at Appleton East, they use a different notation than what we use here. So they put just both notations on there, okay? And then increasing interval and decreasing interval, something to note, those are not ordered pairs. The 0, 2, negative 2, 0, and 2, 6 are intervals. Okay, it says it right here, that is an interval. Okay, so you should not be plotting points at those three sections. Okay, saying from this value to this value. Okay. All right. First thing that you want to do when you're doing these, okay, because there's a lot. It's like, where do you start? Domain and range, because that's where we put those fences up. Okay, think about, and this is the example we used first hour. If you have a dog and you let the dog outside and there's no fence, what can happen? It could run away, right? Anything could happen. The dog is gone. If you have fences up, that at least helps you keep the dog in the yard, right? Dogs obviously can dig under fences, jump over fences, things can happen, but it gives you at least like a specific area to be focused on. Okay, so domain says negative infinity to positive 6. Is domain X or is domain Y? Domain is X. Okay, so from negative infinity to 6 for my X's. Negative infinity is all the way through the wall, through the Spanish classroom, to the bank. Okay. 6 is all the way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right here. Okay, so drawing a line along 6. You guys, I showed better than the other classes. You guys and 7th hour. After you make that fence, okay, what side of that fence am I using? The side closer to me or the side farther away from me? Closer to me, right? Because my biggest X value is 6, right? According to my domain. So if I put a point over here somewhere, that's bigger than 6 for that X value. So I can't use anything on this side. Okay, so make sure you scribble that out. I saw a lot of really good stuff on the test. When you guys were going through and doing these, where you had the fences in the right spot, but you didn't shade it or you didn't shade it correctly. So make sure that when you go through, if you were to put a point on the right side, would that still fit in the domain? Okay, being able to ask yourself that. Okay, now same thing for the range. Range is negative infinity to 6 as well. Okay, so range is my Y. The lowest Y value I see is negative infinity. So it's through the floor, into the basement, into the ground. Okay, the highest Y value I see is 6. So at a Y value of 6, I'm going to make my second fence. Okay, and I know nothing can be above that line because the highest Y value I see is 6. Okay, so scribble that stuff out as well. Now, something that you could add to this problem, because there's a second problem of these on the next page, okay? Giving yourself some kind of cue of what you should do first, second, third, right? Domain and range, I would say always do those first, okay? Because if you get the domain and range wrong, it doesn't really matter where you put the points. It doesn't really matter where you put stuff that's increasing and decreasing if you don't have the boundaries right. Okay, so get the boundaries right. Then your second goal is going to be all of our ordered pairs. Okay, now they wrote X and Y intercepts a little bit weird because they just gave us the number. They didn't actually say like negative 2, 0 or 4, 0. But if it's an X intercept, what does an X intercept do? Yeah, it's where my line is going through on that x-axis. Okay, so I know it's on the x-axis. So at -2, we're going to make a point. And at 4, we're going to make a point. And I'm going to do some color coding with mine, just so if that is something that's helpful to you, you can do that as well. Okay. So that's my x-intercepts. My y-intercept is where I cross the y-axis. We cross the y-axis at -1. Okay, you with me so far on those? Okay, now maximum point, that just means there's a point there, and this one just happens to be the highest. The next one that you see, you're going to see it's a minimum point. Nothing changes with that. It's just going to be a low point instead of a high point. Okay, so at 2, 6, we have our next point. And this one I'll do with black. So at 2, 6. Okay. All right. Up until this point, none of that should be super crazy. The domain and range thing I can still see being like semi-confusing if you didn't necessarily fully get it in 1.2. Okay, hopefully seeing it just a couple more times is helping with that. But plotting points. Okay, I didn't look at the Delta Math from yesterday, but there was a section on there that you just straight up were plotting points. I hope that went okay. I found out some kids in the morning don't really know how to plot points. If that is you, you do not have to tell me right now. You don't have to tell me in front of people, but you need to tell me at some point, because if you can't plot points, you can't plot points good all the time, the rest of the year it just keeps getting harder with how much stuff we have to plot. Okay, so please make sure you're signing up for Flex or asking for help or something. Okay, I'm not judging you that you don't know how to do it. I need to help you figure out how to do it though. Okay? All right, back to this. Okay, plotting points though. Do we understand how I did all of that? Okay. Now, the hardest part, okay, is still this section is going to be that increasing and decreasing interval stuff. My helpful hint for you for problems like this is the interval that has the infinity, save it for the end. Okay, so save that guy for the very, very end. And I would even write that somewhere, okay, that you are doing that one absolutely last. Okay, so I'm going to, again, kind of color code. We're going to start with our 0 to 2 interval that is increasing. Okay. When I talk about increasing and decreasing, what letter do I talk about? X or Y?
Y. X.
X. We talk about X every single time. Okay, so if you are not someone that remembered that or knew that, make sure you put that down. We're talking about X values, not Y. Okay. So from an X value of 0 to an X value of 2, my graph is increasing, meaning it's going upward. Well, an X value of 0 is anywhere, let me get the highlighter. Okay. An X value of 0 is anywhere along that line. Do you agree with me? I could put a point anywhere on that highlighted line and it's X value of 0. Do I have a point on that line from my graph that I'm trying to use right now? What color is that dot? Blue. Okay, so my blue dot, great. Let me get the highlighting out of there. So that blue dot, now an X value of 2. Well, an X value of 2 is anything along this line. Do I have a solid dot on that line that I'm trying to use? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so are you seeing how I'm finding 0 and how I'm finding 2? Okay, it's anywhere on that line. It does not just have to be the specific point on that axis. Okay, from 0 to 2, my graph is increasing. So I'm going to connect those dots from 0 to 2 in an increasing fashion. If I put a ball at the bottom there and I pushed it towards the right, that ball would go up. Okay. With me there. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so that was 0 to 2. I already lost my color coding. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to save that other increasing interval for the end because it's got infinity. And you're going to see why. I'll explain why we wait. Okay. My next one that I need to see is going to be, let's use yellow. We'll do -2, 0. -2 to 0 is decreasing. So an x value of -2 to an x value of 0, my graph is going down. So x value of 0, you guys already told me is the blue dot. Do I have an x value of -2 somewhere? Oh, hey, right there, that red dot. Okay, so that red dot to my blue dot is decreasing, so that line is going down. All right, my last one that has actual numbers, okay, from 2 to 6, an x value of 2 to an x value of 6, my graph is decreasing. Okay, so you've already told me that the black dot is an x value of 2. We know that, we see that, it's great. An x value of 6. Okay, well, an x value of 6 would be anything on that fence line that we made, right? Because that's 6. But I didn't use that second red dot. What is that second red dot again? Like, what part of my graph is that? What's the name of it? It's my x-intercept. What does an x-intercept do, or what does it mean?
It's when the line crosses.
It's where my line crosses. So do I have to use that red dot? If my graph crosses there, do I have to use it? Yes. Okay, your graph is crossing an x-intercept. Your graph has to go through it. You can't just skip it and say, I'm good for today. Right? Because then it wouldn't be an x-intercept. We wouldn't have a point there. We have to go through it. So I have to somehow go from that black dot through that red dot to somewhere on that yellow line. Do I care where it goes on that highlighted yellow piece?
No.
No. So we're going to connect our red dot to our black dot, or black to red, and then just keep going through red until you hit that line. So we're starting at black, through the red dot, down to whatever value feels good to you. Does not matter because they didn't specify. They didn't tell us. They didn't say it has to go to 6, -4. They just said it's got to go to an x value of 6. Okay. All right. Now, are you with me to that point? Okay, I know me talking us through it probably feels better than trying to do it alone. Okay, but are we seeing the thought process? Okay. You guys have a question?
No.
I don't think so. I hope the mic caught that. All right. My last interval is -infinity to -2. And it's increasing from -infinity to -2. Well, take a peek at our graph. What dot do you think I'm going to have to use? That dot at -2, that red one that's the leftmost connected to our little yellow line. Okay. I don't have very many options of where that graph can go. Okay, because if I take my red dot, and don't draw this in, what if I extend it up? Can my arrow actually go through the fence? Can my graph go through that fence ever? No, right? My range tells me the highest I can go is 6. So that wouldn't work because that's telling me I'm going to be going past 6. So as long as your graph does not point up towards that top fence, you can stick it straight out to the side. You can stick it out and down. Can I stick my arrow straight down from that point? No. Right? If I put my arrow there, my line there, think of that vertical line test we did. If I scan the graph, would I be hitting in more than one spot right there? Yeah, I'd be hitting in a lot of spots right there. So it cannot go straight down. It can't go up. Okay, so your options are either straight out to the side on the Y or on the X-axis, or you could do something like this where it goes out and down to the side. Okay, either one of those would be, and anything in between, right? As long as it's not straight down and it's not straight up. Okay. All right, now just for everybody else's purposes in the video, this is probably the one that I would use, just so you don't assume that's always just an axis at the end, but. Okay. All right,